Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week. So that means cutting all my vegetables and making things that take a little bit of time, just so I have that ready to go. So today I'm going to make some pulled pork. I'll make some hummus. And I'll also make some compound butter, which is really simple. It's just some butter mixed with some mixed herbs. So I'm gonna start by cutting all my vegetables, and while doing that I'll go over the meal plan, and then once I'm done prepping I will make the pulled pork, the hummus, etc. So this onion is for the pulled pork, so I'm just gonna put that in a bigger container where I'm gonna gather a few more things for my pulled pork. Before I go into the meal plan, last week was my birthday, so I asked you all to guess my age. You were all very, very off. I don't know if you were trying to flatter me or if I just look a lot younger on camera, but yeah, I'm a lot older than anyone guessed. So I thought about keeping it a mystery until next year and play this game again, but I figured, you know what, let me just expose my age. I am 47 since last week, so hence all the Nirvana shirts I'm always wearing in my videos, because I was in my teens when Nirvana was a thing. Kurt Cobain passed away when I was 15, actually, so I still remember that vividly. I'm remembering it even more at the moment because today is 32 years since he passed. So yeah, I was alive during all of that, just slightly too young for any of the shows, which is unfortunate. I wish I could have gone to some of them. But yeah, I think the oldest guess anyone did was 42, I think, so that's still like 5 years off. Some people guessed I was in my early 30s. That's definitely a long time ago. But yeah, I'm just cutting up some garlic for a couple of things. So these cloves I diced for the hummus, for some pasta, etc. And then 3 cloves I'll just leave whole. Those can go in with the pulled pork. I'm not going to cut them because they're going to pressure cook and they're going to fall apart. So there's no reason for me to cut them super fine. Then I have a bunch of shallots. I could do a red onion as well, but they didn't really have red onions at the market, and I had shallots left over, so I'll just use those instead. And I'm just gonna dice them up for a couple of things, like pasta and a stir fry and like a tuna salad. So for my meal plan, if you are new here, I usually have low-carb lunches and regular dinners. Because I'm diabetic and have to cut some carbs, I don't usually eat breakfast, so you don't really see that. And that's also never in my meal plan. So yeah, most of my lunches are low-carb, except on the weekends when I have my cheat days, because I do really like sandwiches, especially the convenience. So today I'm gonna have more of a brunch kind of thing with some pastol, which is like a bread that we have for Easter here, and I'll have some freshly baked rolls with some ham, maybe some cheese. And then for dinner tonight, I'm going to have some roasted ham with some potatoes, and I haven't fully decided yet. I was kind of thinking green beans, but the more I'm thinking about it, maybe I'll do peas with some carrots. I have how I always plan, like with vegetables like this, I never plan for the exact day. I just know that I'm going to use green beans for 2 meals this week and some frozen peas for 1. when exactly I'm going to use which, I'm still able to change depending on what I'm in the mood for, because I prep ingredients, not the whole meal. So I also don't like the warmed up flavor of things or the texture. So I prefer cooking things fresh, except things that take a lot of time, like pulled pork, for example. I like having that ready. So then we're on Monday. For lunch, I'm going to have some hummus with some crudités. So I'm going to do some sticks of carrots, cucumber, peppers in different colors. And the hummus I'm going to make myself this time. Sometimes I buy it, sometimes I make it. But I'll make it with some sun-dried tomatoes because, one, it tastes good, and two, I'll have some left. Because for dinner, I'm going to do some pasta. I do meatless Mondays, by the way. And the pasta, I'm going to use some sun-dried tomatoes in that. So I want to use up the rest of that pack. So, let's see. Let's do some celery for some tuna salad. So that was Monday out of the way. On Tuesday, for lunch, I'm going to have some lettuce wraps with probably some leftover ham from Sunday. I'll just dice that up. Maybe I'll add some cucumber, some mayo, some diced up peppers, just to spruce it up. But some nice lettuce wraps. Then for dinner, I do Taco Tuesdays. So I'll have some pulled pork tacos. I'm going to use the pulled pork in several meals because when you make it, it takes a lot of time. It's not really worth making one portion, so I always make a bigger portion and use that over several meals. So pulled pork tacos with some lettuce. I'll probably do like a barbecue pulled pork. I'm not making my own barbecue sauce this time. I did recently, but I think I'm just going to use some store-bought. And what else? For Wednesday, I'm going to do a low-carb stir-fry with lots of veggies. I'm going to do some broccoli stems that I'm going to dice up. And some salami or chorizo. Just to change things up a bit. I usually do it with chicken. I'm kind of bored with chicken. Also, I don't have chicken left in the freezer. I do need to do a big restock, but I'm still trying to work through everything I have in the freezer so I can defrost it. That's one of the reasons I'm making pulled pork, because I still had some stewing pork. So for my crudités, I want some sticks of pepper, and I want it in different colors. So I'll just do green, yellow, and red. So for the sticks, I'm going to cut the pepper to the length roughly that I want to use. And then the offcuts, I'm just going to dice up for things like my pasta, my low-carb stir-fry, etc. So I'll just do that real quick. So yeah, we mentioned lunch on Wednesday. Then for dinner, I'm going to have some pulled pork rice bowl. Either I can do a barbecue pulled pork again, or I might use some kind of hot sauce. We will see. Then for Wednesday for lunch, I will do some lettuce wraps with some pulled pork. And since that's going to be low carb, I can't use the store-bought barbecue sauce because that has a lot of sugar in it. So I'll probably do that with some kind of hot sauce. I have a variety to choose from, so it's not too spicy, but it will taste really good. So that's enough sticks. The rest I'm just going to dice up for this red pepper. Just using up as much of the pepper as I can, not waste anything. And then we were on dinner for Thursday. I'm gonna do some pork tenderloin with some potatoes, and again, either green beans or peas, whichever I haven't used yet. And then for Friday, Fish Friday, for lunch, I'm gonna do some tuna salad. If I still have some lettuce leaves left over, I'll do some lettuce wraps. And if I don't, I'm going to use some lower carb crackers, crisp breads. I don't know what you want to call them. But yeah, they're full of fiber and not so much carb. And then ultimately for dinner on Friday, I will have some salmon served over some mixed grains, and again with the peas or the green beans. So I really like having the flexibility by not prepping the whole meals and just changing things out when I need to. For example, if I don't want mixed grains, I can just have oat rice. I can have regular rice. I can have quinoa. The rest of the ingredients, all the fresh stuff stays the same, but what carb I'm going to have it with, or even what protein I'm going to have it with, that can change. Because I'm planning on using salmon, but I also have basa, so I could change it to that if I wanted to. I'm not tied to something that I made several days ago. So, and I just keep a well-stocked pantry and meat in the freezer, so I can change things because I will have it around. Alright, that is peppers done. Next up, I have some chilies. I'm just going to slice them up, and again, they're for the pasta, for the stir fry. I'll put some in my pulled pork as well, just for a little bit of spice. And these cayenne, I'm not going to bother taking the seeds out, because they're not super spicy. And I just have some green and some red, just for a variety of color. Not because I prefer one over the other. I just like having colors in my food. That makes you want to eat them more. And then I have one jalapeno, and I will take the seeds out just because there's a lot more seed. And I'll just slice that up real quick. Then potatoes. I'm just gonna prep the ones for tonight, not the one for Thursday, because potatoes do tend to dry out a bit over time, so I don't want to prep those just yet. I also don't know yet if I'm gonna do those whole, if I'm gonna do wedges or chunks or whatever. But yeah, these for tonight I'll just cut into chunks with the skin on, because I have red ones and yellow ones, so that's a nice contrast. And I'll just saute them in some butter, get a nice color on them. Then next up, some cucumber, and again I want them in sticks about the same size, so I'll cut that off. I'll cut around the core because I don't want the core for dipping, because they'll disintegrate when I try to dip them in some hummus, but I won't waste them, I'll eat them. And the rest I'll just cut into sticks. So I'll do that for 2 of these Persian cucumbers. That should probably be enough. And then the offcuts, I'll just slice them up and I'll use them in my sandwich or my lettuce wraps or something like that. Next up, I have some melon. It's not on my meal plan, it's just something that I picked up yesterday at a good price. So I'm just going to clean it up. I'll start by cutting it in half and taking the seeds out. So now that I cleaned them out, they're nice and stable, and I can just work my way around to quickly peel them. And then I'll just cut them into chunks. So now whenever I'm in the mood for a snack, I just have some healthy fruit ready to go. Next up, let's do some carrot. Again, I want some for my hummus. So I'll just cut one side off. Now it's nice and stable, so I can cut some more thick slices and then turn those slices into spears. That's probably enough for my hummus. Then this little bit, I'll just cut in half and then in half again so it's quartered. And I'll slice those up for my peas. And I'm not going to use this whole carrot, but I want some for my pasta and for my stir fry as well. So I'm going to take a piece like this, cut in half lengthwise, and just cut into little half medallions, half little coins. And then this half I'll just save for another day. Next up, let's do some broccoli stems. So these are just left over from previous weeks after I cut all the florets off. I did take the little nodules off and the leaves, but the rest is fair game. You've seen me do this a million times. Just cut in half. This is really thin, so I'm just going to cut it once because there's a lot of branches, but the big stem I want to cut down. And I will just cut this down, and this is fine enough for me. You could grate them into broccoli rice, but that's too much effort for me personally. I don't mind a little texture. And I'm going to cut all the way down to the end. And then the very last bit, you might have been able to tell by this, just the sound of my knife. This last bottom bit is quite woody and dry, so I'm not going to use those. But the rest, all very tasty. Would be a waste to throw that away. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing to this second broccoli stem, and I'll just use that instead of something like rice or noodles or something like that in a stir fry. Next up, I have some green beans, again for 2 portions. There'll be 2 rather large portions because I do like veg a lot, and there's not a lot of calories in there, so that's a good way to fill up. I'll just top and tail enough for 2 nice big portions. Is green done, and then the last thing for chopping is some cilantro for some lime cilantro rice to go with my pulled pork rice bowl. So I'm going to start by just roughly chopping the leafy part all the way down to the stems. As you've heard me say a million times before, save the stems for things like curry paste. And then this I'll just make a little finer by running my knife through until it's the consistency that I want. Alright, that is minutes of the week. I'm just going to put away the things that I don't need anymore and preheat my Ninja Foodi on saute so I can make my pulled pork and just get a few other things ready. So back in a moment. As I was reviewing the footage, it might have been a bit choppy at the end of the last clip because my memory card was just about full, so it started to slow down. And what you also missed was me just sauteing the veggies, just to soften them, which was the onion, the garlic, and the chilies. So I have my Ninja Foodi on saute. It's nice and hot. Have some oil in there, and I'm just going to add some stewing pork. And I'll add some salt as well. And I'll just let that get a little bit of color. It doesn't need to be cooked through. I just want a little bit of color for some flavor. In the meantime, I have my mini food processor. I like using a small one because I'm only going to make a small batch. And if you use a big food processor, you need a lot to get to the minimum where the blade starts to catch. So a small one is better. Just going to take some chickpeas, just some canned chickpeas. You could just cook them from dried as well, but you want cooked. at this point. So I'll just empty those in there. These don't really have liquid in them. If they do have liquid in the can, you want to drain that first. Maybe save the water if you need to thin it out. But since these are pretty much dry in there, I can just tip it in like that. I'll add a little bit of salt. And then here I have some tahini, which is sesame paste. That's what's going to make the hummus nice and smooth. And then I also want to add some lime juice. That's the basics for some hummus. And now you can add your flavorings. I have some sun-dried tomatoes. Since I have my knife out, I'm just going to give them a rough chop, just so it goes a little bit quicker in the food processor. You can use any flavoring you like. So that, I'm just going to blitz up real quick. I had to add a little splash of water to get the consistency I like, but that is ready to go for tomorrow. And in the meantime, my pork has gotten a little bit of color on it. So I'm going to add my sauteed vegetables. I'm going to add some water, enough that most of the meat is submerged. And I will also add a splash of apple cider vinegar for some nice flavor, and also the acid will help tenderize the meat. And then I'll take my pressure cook lid, put that on, make sure the valve is closed. I'm using a pressure cooker because I can. You can slow cook this for a few hours, or use a regular pan on the heat. But this is a little bit faster. So the chunks are not too big. So 30 minutes should be enough. And yeah, that's just gonna do its thing. And I'm just gonna quickly make the butter for the last thing for this Sunday prep day. So this compound butter is really easy. I just have some butter. I'll just that's softened butter. I'll just add a little bit of salt. And then here I have some mixed spices. So there's parsley in there, some chervil, chives, garlic, peppers, or peppercorns I should say. And I'm just gonna dump that in. And I'm gonna work quickly because my hand is gonna warm up the butter. I don't want to completely melt the butter, but I'm using a glove. You don't have to, but I prefer that. But I'm just quickly gonna work that spice mixture in as quickly as I can so I don't melt the whole thing. And that literally took a few seconds, and now that's still soft. Some of that I'll just put in a little glass container, and that will be for tonight to go with my my ham and my potatoes, etc. I'm using a mixture, but you can just use regular dried herbs and just get a few you like. Parsley, chives, those are classics. Garlic would be nice, and just try a few things out. But yeah, that is ready to go for tonight. Just gonna put that in the fridge, and then all I have to do is now wait for the pork. So back in a bit. And before I forget, the reason I'm having pasta on the Easter Monday is because I have a whole bunch, I don't know how well you can see, but of these cute little shapes. So this is like a bunny coming out of an egg. I have some Easter egg shapes, some bunnies with bows, like chicks coming out of eggs, etc. So I thought those were really fun. Those are some nice Easter shapes. But yeah, that will be for Monday, and I'll be back now when the pulled pork is done. So that's the pork done. I'm just going to shred it real quick with 2 forks, and that can just cool down and go in the fridge. And that is ready to go for several meals. I just need to warm that through with some barbecue sauce or hot sauce or whatever I decide to use. So that's all the prep work done for this week. If you like this kind of content, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see more, you can also check out my Instagram where I post every single meal. Or you can check out the video that I post about once a month on here where I show you everything I eat in a day for a whole week. And I just posted one last Friday. So if you want to see where I use all the components that I've prepped, you can check that out. So if that all sounds good to you, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.